Today, I'm going to bring you my favorite buy lows and sell highs in Dynasty football. And at the end of the video, we're going to hear from you guys, your submissions over on X, because you have great ideas as well. All right, my favorite buy low at wide receiver right now, it's got to be Josh Downs. It has got to be Josh Downs. I mean, I don't think the average Dynasty owner realized how good Josh Downs was in 2024. Let's start this take by just simply reminding you how awful his quarterback play was last year, all right? Specifically, Anthony Richardson. All right, so this is where he ranked out of 39 quarterbacks with 250 dropbacks last year. He ranked 35th in PFF grade, last in completion percentage. In fact, 47.7%. The guy who was second lowest in that category was Spencer Rattler, 10% higher at 57%. He was last in adjusted completion percentage, last in NFL rating, and top 3 in turnover-worthy play percentage. Despite the poor quarterback play, I mean, Downs still set career highs in targets, receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, points per game. And by the way, he played 3 less games this year than he did in his rookie season in 2023. All right, he had a 17-game pace. If he played 17 games, he was on pace for 130 targets, 87 receptions, 975 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, and the wide receiver 17 finish. And there is a new sheriff in town, maybe, there's a question mark, aka Daniel Jones. I guess the worst case for Josh Downs this season is that he has the same starting quarterback that he's had for the majority of his career. The best case scenario is Josh Downs gets peppered out of the slot from Daniel Jones, the same way Daniel Jones peppered a Wan'Dale Robinson out of the slot. If you look at 2024 usage, Wan'Dale versus Josh Downs, very similar usage, around 8 targets per game. Both of them played the majority of their snaps in the slot, but Downs is a far superior player, not only as a yak threat, what he does after the catch, but just as a player overall. But let's be honest, every time Wan'Dale caught the ball, it felt like the man was just falling over. There was no activity after the catch. I'm not sure every target is earned, but Wan'Dale's making a case against it. In 6 games last year without Anthony Richardson, we saw some exciting upside from Josh Downs. On the left side is with Richardson, on the right side is without him. 14.37 points per game without Anthony Richardson. There's definitely some appeal there if this offense can be more pass focused. If 13 points per game with the worst quarterback room, which is what happened last year for Josh Downs, is his floor, what could his ceiling be? So here's what I'm trying to send away to get Josh Downs. And as we always have to say, every league is different. Every league's going to value players differently. We're giving you a baseline, all right? No one can ever come on a video and tell you this is exactly what a player is going to get sold for in your league because every Dynasty owner values players differently. But if you want to go out and grab him for some draft picks, an early second in the future and a third is about the price point. Here are some players that I'd like to that I would like to kind of, swap Downs with straight up if possible. Names like Mike Evans, player equivalent, Tyreek Hill, Godwin, Kamara, Monty, these older names that are probably, lower on their trajectory as Downs is going higher. I'd like to tier down and get extra on top of Downs for the following names like Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Zay Flowers, and Jordan Addison. Here are some real trades that have happened in real leagues. Someone sent away Zach Charbonnet for Josh Downs. I like it. Someone tiered down from AJ Brown to get Josh Downs in a 26 first. I like that as well if that's a mid to early first. Someone sent away DeAndre Swift. Now, I think this is probably more of a straight up trade, but DeAndre Swift is getting a lot of hype right now with not really any other options in Chicago this year for Ben Johnson's offense. That's another trade that you could get done. Those are real trades that have happened in real leagues. We have a database on the Flock site that shows real active trades in sleeper dynasty leagues. All right. One of my favorite sells in Dynasty at the wide receiver position, oddly enough, is A.J. Brown. And I've used this example before many times, but it applies to A.J. Brown as well. This is all about knowing how the Dynasty markets are played. There's only one type of team build that should roster an A.J. Brown, and that is a full-on contending roster. If you're a middling team, a one-year punt, a rebuilder, there is 0 reasons for you to keep A.J. Brown on your roster at this point. Simply put, he has reached his absolute peak in value in Dynasty football as an asset from here on out. It doesn't matter what he does for the rest of his career. He will never be more valuable than he is today, in my humble opinion, because we've seen this time after time after time, especially because next offseason, people are going to see the 29-year-old tag on A.J. Brown's name. I brought a similar take to Tyreek Hill last offseason, but in short, Tyreek Hill was ranked the wide receiver 3 in 2023 offseason, coming off a 20-plus point per game season. He then proceeded to score a career-high 23.5 points per game that year, only to fall 12 overall spots in Dynasty rankings the next offseason. I mean, Tyreek Hill could have he could have broken records. He could have broken the all-time receiving yards in a single season record, and he still would have lost value simply because of his age. And the biggest difference here between Tyreek and AJ Brown is AJ never reached the heights as a fantasy asset that Tyreek did. I mean, he has kind of been like the wide receiver 8 to 12 on a points per game basis in the last 3 seasons. Still fantastic, obviously, but they never reached the same heights. But I believe this is the last offseason where you can flip AJ Brown into an elite prospect. That doesn't mean he's going to be bad. That doesn't mean he's going to have a down year. It just doesn't matter what he does, really, at the end of the day. So if you're trading AJ Brown away, I want to get a future first and a second at minimum. Most leagues can't net 2 first-round picks, but that would be ideal if you can throw another player that way. If you can go ahead and swap AJ Brown for equivalent players in value like Travis Hunter, T-Mac McMillan, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, I would love to do that. Or if you can tear down from AJ Brown to the following names to get more on top, like Emeka Egbuka, Rome Odunze, Chris Olave. Here are some real trades that have happened in real leagues. For example, someone sent away AJ Brown and Rachaad White for Ricky Pearsall and Travion Henderson. I view that as like getting younger, the main pieces being AJ Brown and Travion Henderson. I love that. Someone sent away to a contending roster, Kamara and AJ Brown for 2 first-round picks and a second. Another idea here was someone got Odunze in a first, sending AJ Brown in a second away. I like those type of tier downs. All right. My favorite buy at the quarterback position is Trevor Lawrence. 3 big reasons that I want in on Trevor Lawrence this offseason. Number 1 is Liam Cohen. What Liam Cohen did for Baker Mayfield, it cannot go under the radar. It cannot go under discussed. It is Baker Mayfield's only career season with 4,500 yards, over 70% of his passes completed, over 40 passing touchdowns, and over 22 points per game. The only time he's ever done that was with Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator. And by the way, this was Liam's only year as the Bucs offensive coordinator here in 2024. And if you peep his role in 2021, you'll notice he was a big reason why Will Levis even became a name in the NFL draft. This man is a gifted offensive mind. He might be the next Sean McVay. And if that sounds crazy to you, peep his role in 2022. He was the offensive coordinator for the Rams in 2022. So he's a part of the McVay tree. He has that kind of guru mindset as a coordinator. The second reason I love Trevor Lawrence is the wide receiver core that they're building up there. Brian Thomas had a historically good season. Travis Hunter is a unicorn, a true unicorn. I've said this many times on this channel, but to me, Travis Hunter is the ultimate bail your quarterback out type of wide receiver. The best ball skills that I have ever seen from a prospect that I've ever scouted, ever. Point and blank, period. And most importantly, number 3, despite all these huge upgrades in the offense, in my opinion, he hasn't risen in community value at all. In fact, funnily enough, he's only somehow fell in community rankings on January 24th, the day the Jags hired Liam Cohen. He was a quarterback 17. Today, at the time of recording this video, he is the quarterback 18. So what's happened since then? I mean, I guess Cam Ward was drafted. Maybe some people prefer Cam Ward over Trevor Lawrence, but there's been virtually no movement at all, despite massive upgrades. We rarely see that for a player in an offseason. So here's what you can send away to get him. Again, every league being different, every league's going to value players differently, but a random 26 first is equivalent on KTC. Doesn't mean your league's going to value him that way, but a random 26 first is a great starting point. You can try and send away the following names that are equivalent values like Devonta Smith, Kyron Williams, Ken Walker, Chase Brown, Sam Laporta. And here are some real trades that have happened in real leagues. As much as I love George Pickens, I would be happy to send Pickens and a late second to go get me some Trevor Lawrence in a super flex league there. Another example here where someone sent a random 26 first, but they had a tack on Matthew Stafford. I like that as well moving forward. All right, if you want an in-depth breakdown of your team with customized trade targets, players to buy, sell, hold, then get your team playbook today by either becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND or by going directly to the Flock store, regardless of what promo code you're on. And if you want it done live, make sure you get the live tier. Those links are in the pinned comment. Another sell, and then we'll get to your submissions, Brian Robinson. In my opinion, there's very little chance that Brian Robinson is going to improve his value next offseason, right? I mean, sure, there's a possibility that he breaks out, has some season that none of us expect, but I think this is your last chance to get value out of B-Rob rather than him being a dead asset. Let's review how good Washington's offense was last year. They were top 6 in total yards per game, rushing yards per game, rushing yards per carry, and offensive points per game. Across the board, the best Washington offense we have seen this century, maybe. So surely Brian was able to be efficient and effective in a high-powered offense, right? Well, he was serviceable. He was serviceable. He was probably the piece on their offense that looked very upgradable, in my opinion. I mean, from week 6 onwards, he was actually awful. Out of 33 running backs with 100 attempts in that span, he ranked 30th in PFF grade, 18th in yards per attempt, 30th in yards after contact per attempt, 31st in missed tackles forced, 17th in breakaway percentage, and 32nd in elusive rating. Across the board, a lot of these numbers and analytics and that we use to measure how good a running back is, he was completely mediocre. Then in the playoffs, while this team is finding ways to win, he has one decent game versus Detroit where they were already up for the majority of the game. But the other 2 games where they desperately needed Brian Robinson to step up, he was completely mediocre, had no explosive plays to offer this offense. He only averaged 11.4 points per game last year, despite this offense being elite. And somehow the year before, he had a better offensive points per game. It's weird. To my bones, I don't believe that Brian Robinson is a part of this team long term. They're not going to sign him to a long-term contract. This front office is way too smart. He's a replaceable level player. You don't do that for replaceable level players. And the only reason his value isn't already nuked is because they didn't draft someone in the first 5 rounds this year or sign someone in free agency. I think this is your last chance to maximize value. So if I can get an early to mid second in a future season, great. Even a mid to late second, I'll take it. If I can swap him, this is what I would love to do for a Trey Benson, a Charbonnet, an Etienne even, a Tootin, a Michael Pittman, a Keon Coleman, Sutton. I feel better about those assets beyond this season. And what I really want to do is use him to tier up at a position. So for example, someone did this in a real league. Xavier Worthy and B-Rob to go get JSN. I love that example. How about sending him for Ayuk, who people are saying is a dead asset? I disagree. How about sending him away for a 2nd and 3rd round pick in future seasons? I love it. Or how about getting Josh down somehow with B-Rob as your main piece? Would love to see some of you guys execute those exact moves. All right. We're going to go to your submissions over on Twitter. I tweeted out, I asked you guys, what's your favorite buy and sell in Dynasty today? Now, I'll be honest with you guys, there were so many submissions. You guys did great. I'm not going to be able to cover every single submission here, so go check it out because people have some great ideas. But here are some that I bookmarked to start. All right, so I'm Who Dat says, buy Justin Fields. And I haven't read any of these, by the way, so we'll be reading them together. Buy Justin Fields. Even for just this year, he's a dude you want in your lineup for ceiling, especially in a super flex. 2 per game, top 9 finishes in 22-23, was quarterback 9 in points per game in 6 games last year. Funnily enough, I wholeheartedly agree with this take. I am doing some research on Justin Fields for our redraft channel, and he has a ceiling of a top 5 quarterback this year. That sounds crazy. It's not. He says, sell Zay Flowers. Well, look, if y'all know anything about this channel, you know we are teams that sell Zay Flowers. I don't want to go into that because we've pretty much preached that for months and months and months. All right, another submission here from Patrick who says, buy Jordan Mason. We're on the same page here, Patrick. He says, everything the Vikings did this offseason tells me they plan to use him. I think he could end up being a 12 to 15 touches per game player. I'm right there with you, man. I think Jordan Mason fits that offense in Minnesota to a T. We know Aaron Jones has a bunch of injury history. He has very rarely finished an entire season, and we saw how good Jordan Mason was in a good offense last year. Sell Travis Hunter. This is interesting, okay? I think there is a strong chance his touches are very inconsistent. I'd rather have Rice or Higgins at the same value. We've been very open on this channel to talk about Travis Hunter and to say, look, full transparency, none of us can really tell you exactly what it's going to look like for Travis Hunter. We've never been in this situation before. I've never been in this situation before where I've had to talk about how much a wide receiver will play on defense. I've never had to be in that situation, so I don't blame anyone if they don't want to ride the train and they want to get a equivalent value. What I will say is Travis Hunter was by far the best wide receiver prospect in my scouting grades this year, and I am excited to see what Liam Cohen has in mind with him with that top 2 pick. All right, we have Johnny Doe here who says, buy Ken Walker. He fits this new regime, involvement in the passing game, and top 5 upside this season. I will say, when you go back and look at Ken Walker's season last year, you start to get really shocked at how much he was used in the air. And because their offensive coordinator changed, it concerns me that that might not be replicable from one season to the next. I respect the conviction. I'm more of a hold than a buy, but I respect that. Sell Garrett Wilson for Rashee Rice. He says valued above Rice on KTC. Rice is higher upside. He is 1 season away from being an Olave type player, meaning Garrett Wilson. Well, I think Garrett Wilson's season last year was very good. And I do think that there's a chance he can improve his value this year with Justin Fields. We have seen Justin Fields hyper target a player before in DJ Moore, but I can understand the, concerns around Garrett Wilson. I would actually argue he's like one season away from being in DJ Moore territory. Do you guys remember DJ Moore's kind of start to his career in Carolina? We all knew how talented he was, but he just never had consistent quarterback play. And then he had a great season in Chicago, but he was too old. So I can see where you're coming from. I wouldn't consider him a desperate sell, but I would shop him in the market. Johnny Doe comes back. He says, buy Michael Pittman. I'm in on this. For a lot of the same reasons I talked about Josh Downs today. He says, one way or another, quarterback room improves. Fully recovered from his back injury. He's dirt cheap. He is extremely dirt cheap. I am actually kind of in on this as well. He says, sell Jalen Waddle. Use Jonnu trade as leverage to finally get off the guy. I'm kind of on board there too. I think now is the perfect time to tier up from Jalen Waddle. To package Jalen Waddle with the first round pick. And how high does that get you? Can you land a Drake London in that type of conversation now? Does that get you to a Nico Collins? What sort of trades can you figure out now? I'm not saying it's possible in every league, but I'm on board that idea. All right, another submission here, and it's from Gage Martins. He says, sell Chase Brown. I like him for redraft, but he's already 25. He will never be a bell cow. He was only a 4th or 5th rounder. It wouldn't shock me if Cincinnati were to replace him or at least add another guy. He's just a solid 3rd down back. Well, I think I disagree with part of that because he did show us last year he's a capable workhorse running back. Chase Brown became the RB1 with Zach Moss's injury after what was a week 8, and he just completely dominated. I do agree in the sense that I find it hard to believe that this team that's already so strung up in offensive salaries, I find it hard to believe they would ever extend him on a huge deal. So that part does concern me. I'm not opposed to the idea if you're not contending, but he's just a great contending asset. All right, we have another idea here from Dave. What's up, Dave Dixon, long supporter of the show. He says, sell Jonathan Taylor. Last year of his contract, he'll be 27 starting for a new team. Nobody will give him RB1 contract despite his contract dispute history. By association, technically, I'm buying DJ Giddens. Well, look, I brought Jonathan Taylor as a sell in a recent video. Not everybody agreed with me, but I'm kind of on board with this depending on what price you can get. I will say towards draft season, he was more of a buy. He was very affordable. So it depends on where the market stands now. He says buy Chase Brown. So this is funny how Gage and Dave have kind of, flipped this on each other. He says the defense is horrific. They will need to score a lot to compete. I kind of agree that the defense is going to be very bad again this year, and Chase Brown's going to get peppered through the air in a lot of situations where the Bengals just have to throw to stay in games. All right, Finky here, Finky4N says, buy Pickens, contract year, new situation, high volume offense. I love Pickens this offseason. I'm definitely team buy George Pickens at the right price. I'm not going to send a 1st round pick for him, but in other situations, I definitely want to buy him in that Cowboys offense. Sell Saquon Barkley, high touches last year, injury concerns throughout his career. No real number 2 behind him. Philly may throw the ball more to keep him fresh. I disagree that Philly's going to be more pass focused. I think they won the Super Bowl. They were the best team last year. I think they're going to keep their identity, but I have agreed all offseason that no matter what Saquon Barkley does this year, it's his max value. So I do agree with that theoretically, right? All right. Last submission here from Fantasy Football Luz says, buy Chris Olave, averaged 12.8 points per game in his worst season, minus games where he left during the first drive. May be a year moved from getting a real quarterback, bad offense, good game script for volume for a wide receiver. I do think Olave is a great buy right now overall. But he is even closer on the path of the DJ Moore career path than Garrett Wilson is. But I am overall hold on Olave. He says, sell Drake May. Showed promise in his first season, but hype has gotten way too out of hand in my opinion. Love the player, but would tear down if possible just to take the value spike he had this offseason. Would much rather tear down to Knicks, Caleb Purdy, and get a plus on top. I don't really think you can tear down from May and get a plus on top of Knicks or Caleb personally. I don't think that's possible. If it is in your leagues, definitely take advantage and do it. In my opinion, Drake May just seems to be the first player in this huge tier that people have beyond the top 5 or 6. So in my rankings, for example, I think he's quarterback 7 or 8, but I could have him as low as 14 based off that tier that I'm in. So I guess it depends on how people value names. Maybe you get a plus on top of Purdy before the contract. But yeah, I'm definitely open to tearing down. You're probably going to have to tear down to the names like Kyler Murray to get a plus on top of him, to the Jared Goffs to get a big plus on top of him. But I'm open to the idea, the Trevor Lawrences, I would be open to doing those type of moves. But I still think that Drake May has incredible upside. But I appreciate you guys watching the video. Thanks for being a part of the channel. Subscribe if you like the content. Like it if you found any value in today's video. And I'll see you guys in a future one. Nothing but love. If you're thinking about supporting us in this economy, that's big love, and you deserve love in return. So for every yearly Mother Flocker member who uses the promo code LAND, we're giving out a free team playbook, our 2025 rookie report, access to all premium tools, free site vouchers, and of course, a huge thank you from the LAND crew. You're far too kind. That's love.